My name is James McCarthy, and I am a reconstructive surgeon. Some of the earliest memories of my being are ones of compassion. One specific example of going to mom's work, me asking a question about someone who was in a wheelchair, and her telling me this individual's story who he had been standing behind his car and was hit from behind and interposed and instantaneously lost his legs. My 8-year-old self, what I couldn't articulate was like a visceral feeling it in my gut type of a ache, a resonance toward his suffering. So there was something about human suffering that spoke to me at a nonverbal, visceral, reflexive manner. There's something sacred and holy about the human body, and to see it destroyed is hard. The draw toward human suffering has always been a game that I could play. Some people pick up a bat and they can just play. They go to a piano and they can just play. Caring for humans is just something I could just do. There was one patient that stands out in the trajectory and the journey of my calling in medicine, a woman by the name of Jennifer, who at the time she was about 36 and was hit by a semi. And then she was life-flighted down to the hospital that I was at with lower extremity injuries that effectively were in need of reconstruction, or her limbs would be removed. So I was called by the trauma team to help with salvage of her limbs. My habit and routine in these types of circumstances is to pause, to give way to the leading of the Spirit in small things and in big things like restoring limbs and putting limbs back on. Most importantly, seeing with eyes of faith instead of eyes of sight. I have experienced the reality beyond our eyes in the heavenlies and in the principalities and powers that are at play. If we slow ourselves and refocus with eyes of faith instead of eyes of sight, they become our foreground instead of our background. In the case of Jennifer, I recall after performing a surgery where I transplant tissue to rebuild her legs, being under the microscope as I'm sewing the blood vessels together, and a sense of oppression and a sense of battle. Under the microscope, I'm praying for the presence of God and the victory of God and the movement of the Spirit. It's not been my experience that that happens every day, but I think that specific scenario was one of palpable spiritual battle. As I go into the hospital, I'm asking the Holy Spirit to come. As I open the door, the little keypad, as I'm entering the numbers, my routine is to pray at the same time, that the Spirit would meet me on the other side and be welcomed and move as I submit to the Spirit. In the operating room, I feel like it's just on repeat of I enter the door to the operating room, I invite the Spirit to come, welcome the Spirit to move, submit to the Spirit, and mostly just let God move. I feel like I don't know what I would take credit for, short of inviting and submitting. Jennifer's story ended up with her getting back to being a ballerina and a dancer. When I consider giving God glory in my vocation, I think of His image being born out in me. For me, it looks like a reconstructive surgeon, but for a mom of 3 kids at home, it looks like the image of God being bore out in the shepherding of little people, or of the raising or of the loving of little people. From the time I arise to the time I go to bed, I consider the concept of submission, as was the case with Jesus, from early morning to late at night. It was a continuum of submission throughout the day. And that's my aim at work as well, is one of submission to the will of the Father